Okay, I think this is on. Hey everybody, do we have any of our wonderful medical professionals in the house? Let me close this door. There we go. Oh, it just popped open. Okay, so while people come in, I'm gonna read the Fox 59 article because it's the only one I saw a statement that I want more context on before I decide what to think. I don't have the background to know. Like it does. They said it was not unusual, and I wouldn't know one way or the other. So I'm gonna wait until someone helps me contextualize the statement because my brain is. It sounds unusual to me. I'm just gonna read. Okay. Um. Oh Lord. Oh, here we go. Okay, so on day 9 of testimony, Stacy, can I just call her Boson? I'm way too dyslexic for that one. An Indiana State Police forensic scientist took the stand. Boson spent the first part of testimony outlining her qualifications and giving the jury a crash course. I think that's course in DNA collection and analysis. She worked on DNA evidence in the Delphi case and did the report in March of 2017. It included an analysis of the rape kits administered on both girls. Boson said the kits were tested, and I don't know if people always say, can I say that? I'm just going to try to edit as we go. It'll probably be like Mad Libs here. Other swabs detected the possible presence of male DNA. The amount was insufficient, however, and Boson didn't do a confirmatory test because she wanted to make the most of the sample. No male DNA was present on vaginal cervical swabs, she told the court. She did find male DNA in genital swabs and fingernails, but said that was not necessarily an unusual result. I'm going to keep reading, but that's the one I'm going to circle back to. It could have come from shared clothing and yielded very little DNA. There was no DNA evidence showing the girls were sexually assaulted. Boson said hair found in Abby Williams' hand, a key point the defense brought up in opening statements, appeared to be from one of Libby German's family members. Testing performed in 2024, just earlier this month, showed the hair came from Kelsey German Siebert, Libby's sister. It was a 1 in 8 trillion match, Boson told the court. She soon turned to the cartridge found at the murder scene. The state's firearms expert, Melissa Oberg, said she turned the cartridge over for DNA and fingerprint analysis before gathering the ballistics data. It's not ballistics data. It was the unspent cartridge that the crime scene was not fired. It's not ballistics data. Boson said she attempted to collect skin cells from the cartridge. She also displayed the cartridge to the jury for the first time. She said it was difficult to get DNA from the cartridges because of their small size. The DNA found on the cartridge was insufficient for further analysis. She added that the state police crime lab no longer tested cartridges because of the difficulty in capturing results. Other attempts to glean DNA from items recovered from the murder scene found most of the material came from one or both of the girls. Some hair found on one of the girls' shoes was not consistent with human hair. It's in the woods. Nothing Boson said during her testimony tied DNA evidence to Allen or any other individual. We knew that a year ago. That is not breaking news. The lead investigators testified to that a year ago after they arrested him. After the not a ballistics report. Okay, let me go switch screens. Okay. Amy, I won't put you on the spot, but if you want to actually chat, I'll drop you a link. I don't know if you're If you've made that kind of debut yet, you're welcome. If you need to talk more than rage commenting, um, I, I don't know what to make of the one I've highlighted, because I guess if you're touching a counter and then I guess you don't wash your hands until after you use the restroom, so maybe that could be it. I don't know. If they were in the river, though, how did the hair stay around the finger? How did it survive crossing the river? Did she have her hands in her pockets while they were crossing the river? How did I don't know how to prioritize the questions I have about the DNA, because I need help contextualizing some of it. Oh wait, this is not scrolled down. Oh man, I'm way behind. Hang on. I'm scrolling. Okay, well, I won't put you on the spot. If you ever want to do a practice run so that you can hop on, it is nerve-wracking the first time. I can promise you, at least in my circles, people will be kind and patient and very helpful. If you change your mind, you just let me know. You too, Judge Jessica, if y'all are, the only reason I ever did what I'm doing the first time was because of Dan Doolin. I was so infuriated. I just turned on my microphone on my phone and just started shit talking because I was so angry and confused and I wanted answers and nothing made any sense. And it was very weird at first, but I don't get used to hearing my voice, but I'm used to ranting at least. I feel like all of our medical professionals are probably at work doing their medical profession. Let me see. I do not know. I mean, I just watched the tail end of Lana's live, and she made a very brief comment about what her and Andrea were speculating. I just don't even know how to contextualize what she said before she had to run back in, but she said something that they heard this morning could indicate someone shooting blanks. I have no idea if that was in relation to which part of these tests. I'm trying to scroll through and see. I saw this too, but that was for one part of it. Oh, hang on, I'm trying to click. Lana said they tested hundreds. I don't remember how many hundreds. I might need to pull it up. The reason it took them so long to find whoever worked at the lab that it was his DNA is because his DNA wasn't entered in the system, which they didn't realize that. If you work in a lab like that, you're supposed to enter your DNA into the system to avoid stuff like this so that it's real easy to clear up, but he wasn't in CODIS or anything else, so they assumed it was someone who had no criminal record, and it's because that one was the lab tech. But they tested hundreds of items. There's no reason his DNA would be on all hundreds of them, so I do not know if they just haven't found out yet, if Lana just didn't have time to get to it yet. It was a very, very brief live. Hang on, let me see. But yes, there was one of the samples or items was linked to the lab tech, but not, I don't know which thing yet. Yes, Hammy, it is always there. Even if you want to do a practice run with like 2 or 3 people, we can do a record only just so you can see if you want to try it. If you're like, nope, you can just leave studio and nobody will ever see it. But if you ever want to try, because I have a feeling That would be pretty fun. If Hammy could just hop on with us. I do not know. While I'm trying to, oh, it's moving faster than I can click it. Hold on. I don't know. I don't know how common it would be for a strand of hair with the bulb intact, wrapped around the finger, how it would survive the laundry, the hands in the pocket, taking the hands out of the pocket, crossing the bridge, going in the car, and then crossing the creek. And I feel like if you're running or fighting or resisting or even, I don't know what I would do in that situation. So I'm going to be careful with my words. I just don't know how it would survive. In my mind, I would think there are times where your fist would be closed, but there are times where you would, like, even trying to catch your fall or something. There are so many things in that situation that my mind doesn't understand how it could stay wrapped around the finger. And the way Lana described it was, the testimony indicated that it was a forceful, it wasn't just loose hair from the clothing. She used the word forceful in how it got there. So nobody would have seen this attack coming, so all of it's surprise, but you would have an open hand to catch your fall. You wouldn't have your hands in the pockets while you're trying to go up and down that hill. I haven't seen anybody in any of the footage who's gone out there who didn't at least have their hands out just to steady as they're going down where it's steep. There's gravel, you could slip. Someone's shoe came off at some point. I have some thoughts, but I don't want to, until I have more context for whether or not the part I've highlighted, my mind jumps to the worst because I just want some answers. But I woke up, wound up. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep. I didn't sleep well. I was already wound up about going through all the notes from the stuff that happened Saturday at the hearing, and I'm still just wound up about it. So I'm trying to be self-aware and not fear the worst when it comes to this. It doesn't look great, but I just don't know. Yes, where did Spicy? Yes, absolutely. The state's witnesses continue undermining their timeline. Their law enforcement officers continue undermining their own investigation. Their experts are, as far as I can tell, not helping their case. I saw a quote where Latrell asked if there was anything linking. They had just gone through all these hundreds of different tests. I want to say she said something like 600 different items. Some of it was found in the creek, and they still tested it anyway. They recovered all kinds of stuff from clothing in the creek to stuff they found at the crime scene, but 600 sounds like a lot because I don't know what's a lot or a little for an outdoor crime scene. I don't know how that works. I think it's strange that they would take all of those but not the sticks, or at least try. Even if they didn't see anything useful at the scene, I don't know how you wouldn't collect those and take them to an actual lab where they can make that determination instead of whoever's just in the field take it anyway, but they didn't. I'm going to refresh this other page to see if there's another update yet, because sometimes they will rush out their handwritten notes real quick and we'll get the bullet points, and then if you check back like an hour later, they've added some more details to them. Everybody is pointing out that true crime design is probably rising from the ashes, as me put it. Um, okay, that one's funny, but that's not an update. Let me check the other. Hang on. That one was Wish. I'm going to pull up. Actually, I'll just pull up the three main ones to see if anything occurs to anybody else. So, pull notes from 9 to 11 have not been provided. That was earlier this morning. And all I've seen so far is court is back in session. Actually, let me click the actual link to see if they have updated it. Okay, I think this is the same, but I'll just read it from here. So they update these weird. I'm gonna skip past the at 11:10 and go to the part here because it actually starts here. But when they first write the post, the first thing they write is down at the bottom, and then they dump in their notes here, and then the next timestamp it's backwards. So in case anybody's confused why I'm starting here, that's why. So Bosun points out blood on the pink shirt and tells the jury that the gray bra and the black bra have possible blood on them. She tells the jury that there were two strands of hair on the shirt. One was from Abby, and the other strand did not have enough DNA to identify. The gray bra also did not have enough DNA to be conclusive. Bosun tells the jury that the black bra had four strands of hair, and none of them had enough DNA to be conclusive. The prosecution shows Bosun a black Nike shoe that was found under Abby's back. She tells the jury that there is hair on the shoe, which could be from an animal. She tells the jury blood on the shoe was partially Abby's, but the rest of the blood needed more analysis. The prosecution shows the jury blood swabs from around the area where the bodies were found, specifically from the ground and the tree. 5 of the swabs were Libby's blood from the ground and 2 were from Abby. More swabs were shown to the jury that had blood from Libby's index finger and pinky. The state shows the jury more clothing, including a sweatshirt, 2 socks, a green headscarf, a tank top shirt, the other black Nike shoe, a pair of jeans, and a tie-dyed shirt, all recovered from the creek. Bosun tells the jury the items from the creek impacted her analysis because the samples had degraded and the DNA was partially removed. She tells the jury the Nike shoe was heavily soiled but contained no blood or seminal fluid. Only one swab had DNA, and it was determined to be Abby's. The pair of jeans from the creek had 2 swabs done, found to be mostly Abby's DNA and a small amount of Libby's DNA on it. Bosun tells the jury the tie-dyed shirt from the creek had many mud stains, but no blood or seminal fluid. It had 1 hair strand on it, but it did not have enough DNA on it to determine its source. She said the sweatshirt from the creek was cleaner than the other items in the creek, but no blood or seminal fluid was on that, so DNA could not be determined. On the pair of underwear found in the creek, she tells the jury there was no blood or seminal fluid found. Bosun told the jury that she took the swabs from the crotch area. Those swabs showed Abby's DNA. That tells the jury tells the jury the underwear were stained, but not by blood. Bosun tells the jury that the black sock from the creek had no blood or seminal fluid, and she could not determine who the sock belonged to. Bosun tells the jury that the pink sock found in the creek also had no blood or seminal fluid on it, and had 3 hair strands on it, but she could not determine who they belonged to. She told the jury that the green scarf from the creek may not have been related to the timing of the crime. She says there's no DNA on it. Bosun tells the jury that the tank top had no blood or seminal fluid. A swab was taken but could not determine DNA from a file. The prosecution references an April 11th, 2017 DNA report. Sorry, I can't even read. 2017 DNA report that reevaluated a black hooded sweatshirt and a swab from an iPhone. The jury is told the swab from the iPhone showed no blood and they could not make conclusions from the DNA. Bosun tells the jury that 22 swabs were taken of the hooded sweatshirt, trying to avoid the blood. She says the first swab was consistent with an unknown male. Later tests showed that DNA came from a person who worked in the forensic lab. Okay, that's where it came from. The lab worker was from the hooded sweatshirt. Okay, the other swabs on the hooded sweatshirt showed DNA mostly from Libby and Abby. Boson told the jury, I found more DNA on the sweatshirt, but that she could not determine the profile. She says laundry mixes DNA profiles. The prosecution asks Boson about the July 11th, 2017 report on swabs. Hang on. They got one in April and then one in July from tree branches. She tells the jury these were done at the ISP post in Lafayette, Indiana. She says she converted a conference room into an exam room there. She tells the jury she examined branches for blood and skin cells and took several swabs and did lab testing at her main office. Well, they did it like a month too late. Boson said she found most of the branches did not have conclusive DNA and that 2 swabs tested positive for Libby's blood profile. Boson told the jury how difficult swabs and recover DNA from the creek and says the challenge of testing hair was that it needs to have a skin tag at the root and that natural shedding doesn't have much of a possibility for DNA testing. She told the jury she did send a sample of human hair to the FBI that consisted of 72 hairs. The FBI told Boson that 3 of the hairs were not consistent with Libby or Abby. She told the jury she chose not to test using rootless hair. Sorry. She told the jury she chose not to test using rootless hair testing as there was not enough hairs to even send and there was a low success rate for this testing. Boson tells the jury that a momentary moment of touch. Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry, y'all. Boson tells the jury that a momentary moment of touch does not necessarily mean there is touch DNA, that touching evidence is more limited contact, while handling evidence leads to more contact. She says blood is always going to be a better source of DNA than touch DNA. The prosecution asks Boson, did you find the DNA of Richard Allen on the DNA samples submitted to you? She replied no. She did not even create a male profile for any of the DNA. Gold tells the gallery, says she has noticed, Gold scolded. I'm going to read I think it was Dave who posted a more thorough thing that Gold ended this on, and then I'll switch screens. Hold on. Where is it? Oh, maybe if I click mine, because I think I retweeted it. Show. Okay, it says, at the end, Judge Gold scolded people for sleeping in the courtroom. She said, I don't conduct court in your bedroom. I would appreciate you not sleeping in my courtroom. She has people camping out all night long because she's arbitrarily restricting access to these open proceedings, by the way. And she has the nerve to whine that people are sleepy while they're in the courtroom. Not everybody has a seat sitter or what a saver or can even get there that early. If you've seen the courthouse outside in between when people are already starting to get in line, at a certain part of the day, I'm like, is that downtown somewhere? Are people lining up on the street? Like, are we going to see some tents coming up soon? She has them camping out, not getting any sleep at all, or at least not sufficient sleep. That's for sure. And she's whining about them falling asleep in the courtroom. Okay, but that's how she ended before they broke for lunch. So I'm trying to remember the other stuff Lana said. There was like 600, maybe there was 600 because there was 22 just from one sweatshirt. They took a lot from the sticks. The item of clothing that tested positive and ended up being just from the ISP lab technician, that was on the hooded sweatshirt. But she didn't even create a profile for DNA. Have I missed any? Have we had? I feel like all the doctors are probably at work. Some of the nurses might be, but I don't know if any of them. I don't know what hours they keep. If any of them are in here and I have not seen it, just keep shouting at me. I have this one. I do not. For a while, that circulated for a while that there was DNA that someone left on top of a car and they lost it because somebody drove off with it on top, and then it morphed into it was Mike Thomas trying to leak it, and then it was all this other stuff. I I don't know if that was any of this. I don't think the stories that it morphed into had any merit. I think that was everyone's favorite weirdo who just invents stuff all the time and just repeats it and pretends like he got it from one of his law enforcement sources. I'm pretty sure that's where that one came from, but we at least have something to work with now that came from some official sources. Let me see. Hammy, did that answer any of your questions, or you have more questions? Is she still in here? Oh, has anybody else? I don't remember if I posted the second one. If anybody else is going live that can actually give us way better updates, that's what I was going to check. Let me refresh over here. I don't actually know how to. I keep saying Minecraft people over because I forget what the word is, where you just send people over. If somebody else has gone live, I'll do whatever the thing is to send them over there. Let me see. I don't see anyone yet. Okay, so we're just going to keep looking. Oh, wait. Okay. Sorry, I keep knocking stuff over. Let me refresh. Let me keep refreshing. There we go. I saw Sleuthy posted something. It was probably along the lines of what? I hate the For You page. Hold on. I'm on a different browser. Sorry. I don't know if. Let me see. Jenna, let me repost it so y'all can go find it. She accurately predicted in my reporter voice today the state will waste an entire morning of the jurors' lives to explain what DNA is and how many degrees the DNA analyst has. After 2 grueling hours, the state will finally reveal that no DNA links Richard Allen to the crime, which accurate. Let me open this in a new browser. This looks like somebody has already put together a slideshow. Okay, let me see. Can y'all see that? Let me check. Yeah. I don't know how far this goes down. Oh, I thought that was the link under it. No. It looked like it was like a little, like the nerd stuff I do with slides. Okay. I shouldn't be surprised, but I'm always surprised when Gold is temperamental. Maybe. What is the word? Like, why is she like that? I don't know. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Amy, I just saw your, if you want to, yeah, let me send you, hang on. I don't know if I can copy and paste it on here, so I'm going to send it on Twitter. If you're working up to it, yes, please. I gotta copy and paste the link in here first. There we go. Okay. If you have not ever gone on StreamYard before, I'll keep you, if you end up braving it and want to come on, I will make sure you're not back. I'll keep you backstage until you send in. You can either type it in the private chat or I'll check Twitter to say, okay, ready. Just make sure to turn off your cam if you don't want it on. And as long as you type in your name, we'll be good to go. I just saw that meow when I was sending the thing to her. I didn't click it. But I will. Oh, doctor. Okay. The rest of the blood on the shoe needs more analysis is because it's a mixed sample with an unknown donor or what. Let me see if I can go. Which notes were that from? Oops. It had a mixture of blood, soil, and animal hair, but it was from over by the creek, not necessarily the crime scene. I think it was on Libby's shoe. Let me go back though and check. Okay. Oh wait, I'm not sure. Let me highlight this and check that I'm actually, sharing the right one. She tells the jury that the Nike shoe was heavily soiled but contained no blood or seminal fluid. Only one swab had DNA. Oh wait, and it was determined to be Abby's. Where did it say the other part about the shoe? The prosecution shows bows in a black Nike shoe that was found under Abby's back. She tells the jury there's hair on the shoe, which could be from an animal. She tells the jury the blood on the shoe was partially Abby's, but the rest of the blood needed more analysis. I don't know if that answers. Let me see. Well, hello.
Hey. Is this thing on?
It is on. I couldn't tell. I thought maybe Hammy was doing a DB.
Oh no, I just
I thought maybe she was quick on the draw.
No, is Hammy coming on?
She's thinking about making her debut. She's been wanting to chat about it, and I told her that we go slow. I know, but that's why I thought maybe Hammy just put her name as DB, so I wasn't sure.
Oh, okay. I'll send you a link right
now. Let's see. Hang on. Are you interrupting this broadcast to tell me someone else? Hang on. Let me check.
No, I actually just joined because I heard that I have about 30 DMs in Discord right now, and I just wanted to get the real live update.
Okay, so this one so far is the most thorough update. I caught the tail end of Lana's, the very, very short overview. I have this, actually, I don't know if I have this in the folder, but the doc I have in the folder links to this page, their live page. So even if mine's not updated, you can still click their link for today's notes and it'll take you to that, even though I'm still doing the doc version in case we need to add or change or update. But she said there was like 600 different things that were tested. Yep. Everything from items in the creek to stuff at the actual scene. I'm trying to remember which one of the updates I saw where it said that the hair strand around Abby's finger that had the bulb, Lana used the word forceful. It wasn't just loose hair or fibers from anything else. It was plucked forcefully.
Yeah.
And I don't really know what else to do. She had to go back in. She didn't have much time to update anybody before going back in. But, oh yeah, you got it?
Sorry, it auto-played.
You can, if you're waiting on me, you can play it.
That forensic scientist and DNA expert is testifying, Stacy Bozovnovsky. She was responsible with testing the DNA from both the sexual assault kits and a number of evidentiary items found at the crime scene. So far in her testimony, she says none of that DNA at this point has linked back to Richard Allen. A number of DNA swabs were performed, and she says most of those swabs from the DNA on Abby Williams and Libby German and at the crime scene was that of the girls. She did, however, say there are some trace amounts of male DNA that have been found on a couple of different parts at the crime scene, but she attributed that to the girls likely living with male family members, saying some of the DNA in those parts that had trace male amounts likely were from laundry or shared surfaces with a male. Those fingernail scrapings are one of those. items that were tested to have those trace amounts. But so far, none of that DNA tying back to Richard Allen. Cross-examination still has yet to happen. We likely will hear some of those pressing questions from the defense side of things. We'll be back on WR. Allen. Cross-examination still had those trace amounts tested to have those trace amounts, but so.
Oh boy.
Is it just me, or is doing a little head wiggle when you go, oh, the family could have, the trace, silly little trace amounts of stuff? Doesn't it seem like a little bit like you're downplaying the evidence a little bit here?
It does. And what bothers me is this is one of those things that should have been real easy to clear up real early on, to either catch someone or clear them. If you have something that can be tested, instead of vibe checking them, they could have just, they sent 600 other something off. Why? Hammy, I sent the correct one, by the way. I don't know if you saw it. I sent her the wrong link, but I sent her the new one.
Okay.
I don't.
Well, so for me,
Did you see the one about the fingernails though, or was that what she
Yes.
just discussed too?
yes.
I don't know what to make of that.
Well, what else could you make of it other than screaming, what the fuck? Oh my God, is this a non-binary? Oh, my genius over here. Hey, what's up?
Click on the draw right there.
Hello?
What do you think, Hammy? Hi.
Wait, can you hear me?
I
Yeah,
can
we
hear
can hear
you.
No way.
Hi. Yes, way.
Sometimes when I go hello, people in my family are like, "Oh my God, you sound like Siri." So,
I can hear.
anyways,
Okay, so where are you at mentally with
Mm,
the latest update? I'm prioritizing where to start.
okay, I'm
It's
freaking
such a
out a
weird
little,
problem.
mostly because I want to know who, like, this information about it being Kelsey was front loaded to us,
Mhm.
and I
Oh,
want
I
to
thought you were
know.
gonna say. I was going. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to know, like, who. Somebody obviously already knew that it was Kelsey. So why would they try to keep this from people?
Why wouldn't they have just confirmed it? If they were like, it's probably her, we think it's her, they could have figured that out a lot sooner than the first trial, the second trial, every time it got pushed. Why are they waiting until now? And now, like, preemptively at the same time, I guess. Was it Nick that brought it up in that first, I don't remember what trial day it was, where we found out they had sent something to the lab to be tested, and it was recent? Was that last week?
Wait, can you repeat that?
When does anybody remember when we found out that they had recently sent something to the lab that we were all waiting on the results from?
Opening
I
statements.
can't remember if it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, mini voir dire for the mini opening statement. God damn. It's
Was
the
that
mini
during
opening
jury
statement.
selection?
Yes.
It was like day 2 of jury
Okay.
selection.
Okay. I couldn't place it. What about, is it weird that they, on one hand, they say, we found out the DNA on the sweatshirt is from somebody from the lab. And then a couple of minutes later, she says she didn't develop any male DNA profile. I feel like that's a discrepancy.
Now, to me, personally, I call that a fucking clue. We don't know what's going on here, folks. Let's unfuck your processes. But guess what? You can't. It's over. You can't prove this case against this man. You fucked shit up too much. Yes, there's DNA under the fingernails, Tara. And
Yeah.
they didn't test it because it looks like a male DNA, which means they have enough to know that it's a male profile. But because it's a male profile, they decided that since they live with males, it is not of evidentiary value to learn any more about this DNA profile.
That's not good. Even if you're,
It's not great.
you need to clear or catch them. You gotta start one way or the other. You can't just, especially these men, they cannot use their judgment. They don't have good judgment. So if they're the ones deciding, well, we shouldn't, it's probably this, it's fine. They're the worst to be making that decision. They have clouded judgment even on a good day. But did you see the part about the FBI, or did you hear the part, DB, about I think it was this one, where the FBI sent something back that said it's not conclusive?
I sure
Hang
did.
on.
And that's pretty interesting with some
What
of the
did you
stuff I
think
was
about
talking about
that?
the other day, right?
I know, that's why. What do you think? You
So
have some
I think
thoughts?
the other day when I first heard about the hair, the prosecution said that somebody told them, or somebody they learned, whatever the fuck they want to use as their little phrase of saying, it came to be
Trying to find
known
it.
that this hair was
Yeah.
from a family member, right? Well, how do you know that? It's because you looked at the profile. You did an analysis on the DNA and you found at least part of the profile that said it had a familial match on the female side to some known DNA at the crime scene, i.e., one of the girls, i.e., Libby, right? So why couldn't they say who tested it?
Yeah.
Because I thought it was usually they would say another agency did it or they would say they did it. But they don't want to
Mhm.
say another agency did it because they don't want to say who did it because it's the FBI. Because they start talking about all the shit with the FBI, you're going to get more of the rift is going to be admissible. They're going to start talking about the issues with the FBI in 2019 and earlier on, because I guarantee you, ERT was there, the evidence recovery team, they were taking their own shit. They probably took that hair directly in their chain of custody straight to an FBI lab and actually did the nuclear testing on it and got that partial
Mhm.
profile, and then went back and told them, hey, we have a partial profile, we want to confirm it, go get DNA from the family. And guess what, they probably didn't. And 6 months later, the FBI probably came back and said, hey, what's good on the fucking DNA that we sent you guys? And they said, yeah, we made this decision that, we're just not going to, we're not going to look into it. So, you know,
Do you see Judge Jessica's question?
could the FBI
I just
have their
put it up.
own results on these unknowns? Absolutely. And the issue is this is a Supreme Court case, Tui versus Rodriguez, that screws states' defendants from being able to bring in information from another agency or a sovereign government, aka the federal government, the United States, when you're in a Indiana case, and it allows them to not. It's uncross-examinable unless you can overcome this process where you can actually subpoena a record or testimony from an employee of the federal government. So they are not wanting to come just boom, come help, right? So that makes me think that the reason the defense couldn't ask for it either is because Gull chastised them, and they were made very clear they're not allowed to ask anything about the FBI
Mhm.
without setting the foundation first, and they weren't getting close enough on the foundation to even ask where the DNA came from. This morning, I thought maybe a little bit differently since this person was saying that they had the partial profile, but now that more of this shit
Mhm.
has come out, it does appear to me that the FBI did some of this analysis, and I think this opens the door to get more FBI lab reports that I'd hope that they would already have, but they may not already have.
Do you see Kat's comment up here too?
The FBI are the best
Like,
to blame because the FBI cannot comment on the investigation. Yeah, because it's not close to them. They were assisting. They have an FBI case filed. It's a kidnapping case. And they haven't, I mean, I don't know what's going on with that case file, but I would imagine they have some follow-up to do. They have some reports that they either haven't turned over or they have turned over that they just can't mention yet. Because if you remember, in the opening, they did talk about infighting a lot between other
Yeah.
agencies. They were talking about the FBI. The FBI did not.
Well,
FBI,
there was
not
some of that
DEI.
even not in the FBI, like just also some locals, I think. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think it was just limited to the FBI. I know the FBI was obviously a bigger deal, but I don't know that there's ever going to be, at least not to my satisfaction, clarification on it. But so what does
What do you
this
think,
open
Amy?
it up to? Oh yeah, Hempstead.
Sorry,
Ham,
I've
you're
got
muted.
COVID and
There you
I've
go.
been like coughing behind the scenes. And then I have a cat right now that just like keeps trying to get pets.
Same.
Is your cat named COVID?
No, my cat's name is Shadow.
Nice.
Wait, I just want to confirm all the information that came out. Is one, the hair is Kelsey's?
At least one of them. The one I think on the finger specifically, but there were 72 hairs, and I think the only clarified, confirmed report is that one, and it is Kelsey's. I'm scrolling through
Okay.
on a different browser just to check.
And there was semen found.
That one statement makes me think I'm not sure. I guess this one says no male DNA was present. Oh wait, hang on. This is a different one.
Yeah. So I did delete my tweet because I uploaded the wrong video, but I made a small little video on this news. Sorry, I just hit my mic. I'm gonna fucking punch this mic. I swear to God, dude. These motherfuckers got me pissed.
So, I guess because I don't know what people are saying, you can't say this or you can say that. There was external but not internal male DNA, but it didn't specify beyond that. Hang on. With the kits, there was no semen detected. Other swabs detected the possible presence of male DNA. The amount was insufficient, however, and she didn't do a confirmatory test because she wanted to make the most of the sample. That one hasn't been updated since I checked it. Let me check the other one.
Can I play this the right video? Because I accidentally played the wrong video too.
Yeah.
But it was kind of the same video. It's just not edited. Actually, you know what? We already know this stuff. Yeah, I seen something that said that they found something that was consistent with seminal fluid, but they weren't able to confirm that's actually what it was.
I think they're probably going to get more details after lunch when they come out, but Lana said a whole bunch of stuff in a short amount of time that I don't trust myself from my memory just from hearing it once. Even when she said 600 something different things were tested, that didn't sound right to me, and I just was kind of reeling a little bit. But I guess that does add up if you think they did 22 on just one of the sweatshirts and they had however many different things between the sticks and stuff. They were testing all of the clothing items from the creek. They even got, I don't remember if they said it was a scarf or a head covering that they found at the creek, but they said they didn't view it as evidentiary. I know I was going to look up. TB, do you remember that Kim Riley thing about the ERT statements?
Oh, yeah.
In the early days? I don't remember that. I want to say that might have been Wish TV.
I can find it. I'll find it.
I mean, what? Sorry, well, I don't want to get too sidetracked because we're all way.
Or cat
We
will
can't all
find it.
get way sidetracked.
I'm
Okay,
the
so
relatable one who just doesn't know what the heck's going on. So I just ask the questions over and over again.
Perfect.
welcome then, because I do
Yep.
too. Takes a couple of times
Um,
before it sinks in for me.
And there was a DNA profile under somebody's nails.
Yes,
Okay.
but they knew enough
They
that they
didn't
had a
create a male
profile.
DNA profile, though, right?
But
Sorry,
no,
didn't
they
mean to
knew it was
interrupt. I'm just trying
male.
to,
You're good.
but they didn't create a profile other than that. Is that what that means?
They knew enough to know that it was male, and they did not do any further testing because male DNA on a victim's body at a crime scene is likely because it's touch DNA from somebody they lived with. That's what they said.
Okay, but that is not a reason to not confirm or try, or is that what they meant about they were trying to preserve the sample? They didn't want to send it all off just for confirming? Is that what they mean by that? Or there's so many different samples, apparently, like a whole bunch. I don't know if there's $20,000 worth, but I'm trying to. I can't Boolean and type and talk. Hold on.
Here, I'll rant.
You
You ready?
Yeah.
Hey, Hampstead,
Please.
what's up, dude? How you doing?
I'm good.
You just got COVID and everything, and a cat.
Yep.
So that's what it's like to be a satellite engineer, huh? Oh, I'm not supposed to say that probably.
You can say that.
Okay, so
That's
you're
my
a satellite
past
engineer.
life.
That's a lie. But we believe you. We'll just say that we believe you on that. You're very
Uh-huh.
intelligent, but you are really good at making memes. How did you get so good at making memes?
I don't know.
Are you antisocial too? You're just a monster in the chat. Is that what you're telling us?
Oh, Osberg is here.
Oh,
That's an
perfect.
introverted thing. Like if you're, you can type it out real well, but then if you're on, or at least for me, and then you get on the spot, you're like, fuck, words. How words? At least me. I'm getting slightly better. I'm on a different screen, DB. I'm looking for this other thing.
Yep, you're good.
All I heard was
got it.
Osberg.
Yeah, Osberg says, even if only a partial profile, people can often still be excluded, like maybe Richard Allen, because this was direct examination this morning, and I see absolutely no journalism saying that no reporting, I should say, that they have asked or the state have said that he's been excluded from any of this. Of course, they're not going to say that on direct, because they have the spine of a jellyfish, but cross-examination's coming up. Maybe they're going to say that. Either way, they can say, like, they can literally just say that, like, oh, we have not excluded any of the DNA from the DNA we didn't test fully. Just like, you don't got his phone in 2017. So you can't say there was nothing bad on it. Just like he wasn't on the tower because we did the wrong tower dump. So, like, we can't tell
I
that
still have questions
his
about
device was
that.
there. Oh, so do I.
Did they never go? Did they check the tower data for the one that he transposed or whatever incorrectly in his report, and then just never go back and check it against the accurate numbers? Which one were they checking?
I think this whole thing where he wasn't on the geofence or the tower dump is because he was traveling that day. There are several towers on the way to Peru. There are several towers on the way back. I don't think a tower would have handed him off. If there's a tower, 5 miles away and he's a mile away from the Delphi Tower up by Ron Logan's, you're within 5 miles of the tower you're already on. So, like, the tower may not do a handoff there. And so they could have just did the tower dump on the tower closest to the crime scene and just got what was communicating through that tower, and that's it.
Yeah. Did we ever figure out about the airport that's nearby and the tower there? I'm pretty sure it was more of a sister contract situation with the companies providing certain types of
Well, a good friend of
services.
mine knows way too fucking much about that tower. Peggy O. Give us the deets on that tower, Peggy, if you can. She's got that tower fucking triangulated.
I at one point tried to find a 2017 only version of what was available in a certain radius, and all I found was something that was either active or used for an active contract, or like even for flights. But it was Flora was the next closest to the one from Ron Logan, and I cannot remember now at this point what the third one was, but it was further than whatever the airport. There was some. It was like a dual purpose something. I don't know enough about that. I don't know what is a dual purpose anything when you're talking towers, and it's cell towers and airport. But I don't know what kind of airport it was. Like, were they just landing helicopters? Was it care flight? I don't know. I'm knocking stuff over.
Oh, I think it was a they had a bunch of single engine Cessnas there, and they were running cocaine rock or sacks for the cartel probably, and they didn't look into this angle.
Drugs for guns.
Okay.
I don't know about all the way to Delphi though.
There's this tower.
I have a few other DNA questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
I'm no expert.
One, do we know if I know that there have been questions about like cross contamination between like the victims, whether one victim's blood is on the other, so we know which one was attacked first. Do we know any like DNA stuff with that? Like whether Libby's blood was found on.
This is why I try to put it in my folder, because then I can just search my folder instead of trying to figure out which one of these media reports it was from. But there was something about 2 items of clothing that Libby was wearing. It was mostly Abby's DNA, but it did have something was mixed with Libby, but I don't understand. I could understand that with maybe hair or something, because she was wearing Libby's clothes. That's very normal for girls to borrow each other's clothes when they're going to do stuff or staying the night. I can understand that, but the way they worded it sounded like it was fluid, as in blood. So I'm going to try to find it, but I don't know if they just didn't get too far into that on direct, because they don't get too far into anything there, apparently. But I'm looking. Let me see.
And then I'm guessing they just completely messed this up, but if they were able to the whole thing
in general,
but if they were able to get DNA off of the phone,
they did 2 swabs on the phone. They did one in the very early days, and then I saw something where they went back and did a second pass at it. I don't know why or when off the top of my head, but I'm trying to copy all this into mine so that I don't have to keep trying to go back and forth. Let me see, because they keep adding more details, which is helpful, but it's hard for me to search it very quickly.
You should make a whole database of all the documents and then make it searchable.
At some point, it will be
searchable
enough. It's searchable enough for now to like help me get closer to something faster, but at some point, I'm sure I will. Everything about this case needs to be studied. The lessons that need to be learned, it needs to be accessible one way or another, in a way where it's not overwhelming. Right now, it's probably confusing to people if they don't know, if they're not prepared for how many filings there are. There's a lot. Okay, got wish.
So
updated.
with the DNA question, I think something that scares me about the contamination question too is, and maybe I'm just being cynical, but did the jury ask that because they wanted an explanation on why his DNA wasn't there? Did you contaminate stuff and destroy DNA samples accidentally, and that's why his DNA wasn't there?
Was it a juror question?
Well, they just asked about double gloving and changing, or no, they didn't ask about double gloving. They asked about changing gloves in between
Holman's
collection
testimony,
of evidence.
I think.
No, I think from the
Or was that
original
today?
crime scene investigator. No, it was
Oh,
last week.
gotcha. Okay.
Was it your question?
Yeah, I know. I'm caught up now. Sorry, went different witness. My brain split.
Yeah, no problem. Question here. What was the date they paid for the IGG? I keep forgetting to go back and search the auditor spreadsheet. Was it since the arrest? Bad news, Jessica. Judge Jessica, Your Honor, I'm sorry. That wasn't from the spreadsheet. And you may think, what the fuck? Well, that was for the audit, right? No, it wasn't. That was actually an addendum that the ISP just decided to send to WTHR. And because WTHR also reached out to them and asked what their costs were. And in that cost was, $250,000 in overtime. Keep going. Yeah, right, bro. And then $20,000 of IGG. And there's no source on that. There's no billable record. We don't know when it was. We don't know what company. So I think Peggy and I also scoured some of the contracts and the public information for those dates to try to find a contract. But if you don't know what the company's name is, even if you type in Othram and JedMatch and all the different private contractors that are well known, there's nothing there. So I would love to know that too, but ISP, I guess, did not have to have the same scrutiny on them when they submitted that information to Mr. Siegel, and he was totally chilling on that.
Bob. Oh my gosh. I found one thing. I'll read it instead of switching screens. I don't know if it
give it a read.
Sort of answers it, or so the court took a break at 10:50 a.m. and resumed at 11:10. I keep saying Boson because I cannot pronounce it, at least not live, until I've practiced it a few times. So I'm just calling her Boson. Find about additional items found at the crime scene, including items of clothing belonging to the victims. The DNA matched Abby, Libby, or a mixture of the two. Some swabs returned hair consistent with animal hair. Blood pulled around Libby was her own, as was blood found on the ground and trees. Blood found around Abby Williams was her own. The items pulled from Deer Creek, they list a bunch, were also analyzed, but she believes the creek affected the results, adding that the water had the potential to remove or dilute the DNA. One item included Abby's profile and a partial sample, although Boson couldn't make a determination on the partial sample. Some items didn't include enough DNA for analysis. Again, Boson said she found no male blood or semen. She was unable to develop a DNA profile for a potential suspect. So I think that is the only part they have as of now for any mixture, crossover. The state sent a set of hairs to the FBI. I think that's the 72 hairs. The FBI identified 3 hairs not consistent with either girl. No additional testing was performed at that point. Boson said it was because she hoped newer technology down the road would provide answers. Given that analysis often destroys or compromises the original material, the lab decided to delay further testing. So the other stuff we've already read. I just couldn't remember if I read that part earlier.
It's Stacy Bozanowski.
Say it again.
Bozanowski.
Bozan what?
Bozanowski.
Bozanowski. There we go. Bozanowski.
There it is. Yeah.
Got it. All right. I try not to butcher it live, because then if I say it wrong once the first time, good luck getting me to say it right ever again. It's hard to. Here we go. So I think any mention of crossblood on one of the girls, did that kind of just answer what I just read? Does it answer that question?
Yeah, I think it would be hard to see that because, well, no, I mean, I guess what they're asking is, did they find any of one of the girl's blood on the other girl's blood? I don't see that answered anywhere so far. I do think that may come up on cross, because if they were killed a couple feet apart outside, and the directionality that they were positioned in the crime scene is important. And I think given the absolutely horrible method of death that we know of, and the type of evidence and the distance that evidence can travel, I would imagine there could be some cross contamination just from, and maybe the cross contamination is not the right word, but the cross DNA across the girls to have different DNA on them from each other. So
Would that affect their determination of how many edged weapons were used if there wasn't any cross-contamination near the wound? At least on one of them?
I think it would more or less determine which it could, and I think the defense could definitely make a point out of whatever they want to, whatever they learn from answering that with the state's witnesses or asking that from the state's witnesses. But I think more to what it could answer definitively is, was this girl, was one of the victims in the path of evidence as it was, as it landed on the crime scene, basically. So
Yeah.
I guess it would, and if it's not, then you know for sure that they were either not facing each other and that they were separated. So, or the person was in the way. I don't know, but I just think if there is none, I think the defense will make a point of that. If there is some, I think there's a way to make that point too. And you got to think, what the defense really wants to prove their overall case is they want to #attack timeline, right? So to do that, you got to prove the body's removed. Well, not necessarily prove, but like you have to create doubt around whether the body's removed or not. So I think they're going to try to make those elements support.
I think
the
that
movement
exists
of
on
the
its
bodies around.
own
I
because
agree.
none of this makes sense. The doubt is there. They have never obtained enough for there to not be doubt about a lot of stuff, especially from, I mean, there's two ways to get from the end of the bridge to where they ended up: across the creek or back across the bridge and down that path. I guess technically you could take the private drive, but you'd have to leave and go all the way around, which if you left the private drive and went somewhere else, it may have been closer to go to the other side from where they were returning, if that makes sense. Like,
Right.
I don't
And
know
then,
where they left. But those are the only options I know that are even in the realm of possible. I have no clue what makes the most or least sense because it's strange. All of it is so strange.
so Catastrophe says they find it odd that they did not scrape Abby's nails, even if they were short. Even to put that in there the way that they did is just bizarre. Like, that was something they could have omitted altogether, but they said they didn't do it because she bit her nails. And they were very short, but there's still a surface. Like,
Yeah.
that soft tissue area under your nail still has ridges and grooves that could capture DNA, or the top of your nails, or the edge of it. Just because you can't scrape on the underside of the fingernail doesn't mean that there would not be DNA there. So it seemed like when they first said that, they were getting out in front of the fact that they failed to do it.
They keep getting out in front of a lot of stuff that they could have gotten out in front of so long ago and used all this time to get on top of it instead. And I can't understand why. After all this time, they haven't cleared up the things that could even be cleared up so that there's less what the fuck's left. Like, is frustrating. I don't understand what they've been doing. Let me see.
Yeah, here's a good follow-up. They bagged Libby's hands. I heard that too. Did they
yeah.
bag Abby's hands? I don't remember hearing them say that they bagged her hands.
Same.
But you think about the differences in how they describe both the girls' hands. I think one was very obvious, which they both should be if they read their own fucking crime scene investigation manual. You bag the hands, but one was like very obvious, and the other one, you should have just did anyway. So, are they with all? And are you saying that they bagged both girls? Someone did. Okay.
And there's also this. I'm trying to catch them before I lose them.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I agree, Your Honor, but the problem with that is if they assert that they need something, i.e. CSLI data from the FBI and the CAS team, TUI is going to apply to that, right? They're going to assert TUI in that request. So say there's other subpoenas that they needed to do or other information or reports they needed from the FBI or any federal agency. I wonder if there was other barriers put in place, other TUIs that they had to write that weren't as successful as the one they did for the tower data. So I have been worried the last couple of months about them really getting all the information they need from the FBI and the.
Oh, I think they got it. I just don't know that the prosecutor did. I can't ever decide if he's being professionally obtuse or if he is actually in the dark, because everything
Wait,
goes
I'm
through Mullen.
I'm a little confused about that. So we know the ISP did some of the DNA testing, and then I'm also guessing that the FBI did too.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I just don't understand, like, how would these two agencies, I guess, like, do their own separate testing, but then report back to Unified Command? I don't know. Can somebody like explain that to me? Is like, how do you guys know like how that would go about? Is like, who decides to take what?
Well, apparently they were using banker boxes though, so I have no idea. DB could probably tell you how it's supposed to go.
Well, so
No
in the
clue if they
beginning,
did it that way.
In the beginning, when there's multiple primary jurisdictions, like I believe there was in this case, the FBI decided their primary jurisdiction was not as important, so they allowed Carroll County and ISP to move ahead as the sole entity in charge, and create part of the Unified Command and put somebody on there. So I think they would have deconfliction meetings saying which parts they would be doing, as far as which evidence would they be following up on and testing, and how they would be bringing it back to Unified Command to then intake that evidence and understand that evidence, and then share that evidence with all of Unified Command and the investigative team. But what I think was going on here is somebody was the gatekeeper to the FBI information strategically, and they were not sharing it all in Unified Command in a way that it would be in discovery probably. So could be that they're having, conversations over the phone, over, a video conference or something, and they're telling each other's details about what came back in the results of the reports, but not actually sending the reports over. So the report may not exist.
Too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Like in 2017, they had one organizational chart, I guess, set up depending on their various roles. But then if one was no longer active, then it would kind of reshuffle things around. So I think it varied by year, but it's hard to know because they don't like confirming even the most basic stuff. And they're weird about it. Hang on. Did you see Jenny's question?
Once they throw the FBI out, does that mean they can't come back at this trial and testify about what they did? So this is what's kind of interesting, what I was talking about with TUI, right? The TUI is a way the federal government can not be responsive to state subpoenas. So somebody would subpoena the federal government to come testify, right? But if you're a law enforcement agency and you're already a partner with the FBI, you don't have to subpoena them. You're the state. You just say, hey, I need you to come testify. I'm going to call you as a witness. And then the feds go, okay, cool, no big deal. But when you're the defense, there's barriers. Because then you have to send a subpoena. And if the FBI doesn't want to testify, because they're not getting called anyways, the state's not calling them. They're a law enforcement agency. They're cops, right? So even though they don't necessarily get along with state and locals all the time, cops are going to cop. But they just don't want to be answering state subpoenas too, because the more they answer, the more they lose their sovereignty, because they're now cooperating with subpoenas, and in that process saying that they're subject to them. So they're very particular about what kind of cases they are answering questions on. If DHS is testifying, it's probably because the state asked them to. So they're just gonna do it. Like they don't need a subpoena. They'll just, okay, sounds good. We'll come. We helped. We'll be there.
Forgot I was on mute. So state calls them. Defense will be able to cross. Can they recall them? How does... I think it's weird that there's so many barriers for defendants to be able to call them at all. I know it's a thing.
Well, it's by design.
I still don't get it.
It's
like
by
how
design.
They're allowed to say, we're going to do this. And people are like, okay, we'll sign on to this. It's a good policy, even when it's a bad one. Let me see. Okay.
Isn't this Auger's specialty? I've heard people say that. That's nice that it's her specialty, but unless the people that you need to remove all those barriers for you, if you're having TUI issues, is like somebody who works for a major DC firm that has like a former FBI director on it. Like it's a political thing as much as it is a case law thing. You have to have the horsepower to be able to go and make them think, oh, okay, they're not going to stop at this. They know the stuff that we're talking about in these requests, and we're going to have to be responsive, or else we may lose in state court and create bad case law, because we really like TUI the way it is.
I really love this comment from Dr. NB. Y'all, cops love propaganda. Cops love propaganda that romanticizes and ends justify the means mentality.
They love those pat themselves on the back press conferences too.
Literally.
We'd like to thank ourselves for all the hard work we've been doing.
Seriously. I wonder like what it's like to be a jury member right now, because part of this case is like you just kind of get, there's just so many questions that I bet they're having similar discussions. Like I couldn't help myself but want to get everybody together on a Sunday and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, they're allowed to talk some about it to each other, yeah?
Yeah. Well,
but not families, just only each other, but they can't really get into details. I don't understand that instruction.
They can only do it if like they're all there.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what's tough. Yeah. Is that I
so
would
they
be
can
like
deliberate if they're all there.
Yeah.
Like a quorum situation.
And then Judge Jessica and I were saying that it'd be really funny if this is like, I would love it if it was like in reality TV shows, you know how they have like the confessionals where it's like a camera and they just kind of go into the booth. I just wish that after like they just kind of had those so that
that would be awesome.
They can record jury members after each day being like, what the fuck was that? Or
I'd actually watch that one.
I
That'd
would
be
so
amazing.
watch that. Like, I would love to
Mhm.
see what they're like day by day, what they're thinking.
Yeah.
And how many of them are doing like the very slow pause and stare at the camera and blink slowly, like Andrea is doing.
Yeah. She mentioned something about one of the jurors. He apparently could not control his just perplexed expression on his face. I don't even know if he knew who was doing it. I think it was either Andrea or Lawyer Lee, but apparently one of the jurors was just baffled by the state's witness at one point, and he would like stop taking notes because he was just staring. They're probably very confused, and they're in a crash course in this case right now, but
Yeah.
it's hard for people to catch up without what the jury's getting right now. They're having to do it in a short amount of time with even more information than any of us have ever had. Of course, they're not getting all of it, I guess, but still,
Yeah, look
it's
at
got to be
this.
overwhelming.
I got a map. I can move it around. I could see that you can go up the loop and then on Deer Creek Trail and then park at the CPS building and never fucking go in front of this little store over here called the Hoosier Harvest Store.
Yeah.
Right? What are they doing? They're fucking trying to draw a picture of the map that's in front of them that Mullen printed out at Kinko's. Like, what the fuck?
Don't know.
I can't believe that is the process they're having to do. And that's why I've said I don't like his chances at trial. So
Yeah.
I'd be
Some days I feel
like,
better, and other days I'm like, oh, I don't know if it's gonna work. Like, I don't know if they're gonna see it all. I don't
yeah.
know. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying that I'd be frustrated. One, like obviously constitutional rights being railroaded, but second is to just be there and be sequestered as a jury member, and then to just be like, this is why you're wasting my time.
Yeah.
yeah, to see Holman up
Absolutely.
there and Liggett
Oh
tripping over
my-
themselves, and you can't fucking see your child. You can't
Literally.
not even something
Yeah.
that seriously, but like you can't go play Fortnite with the boys on Wednesday night, like serious shit like that. I'd be pissed.
I'd be pissed too.
Yeah. I might fake a family emergency.
Especially
I don't
like
know.
I know
They
that
probably
this
did
is,
have one, but I'd consider it.
especially if like I know that this is supposed to end on the 15th, but by some off chance that like it continues through like Thanksgiving,
Oh Lord.
I'd be freaking pissed.
Yeah.
Well, that's a huge issue in a lot of cases when it's butted up against the deliberation is butted up against a long holiday.
Yeah.
Because then it's like people feeling it like a pressure to hurry up and make the decision, and that's usually going to give the state a lot more benefit of the doubt on some of the stuff they present.
If they're worn down, yeah. I think I would have the hardest time not asking too many questions and not being able to just raise my hand and ask them to clarify actual stuff. Don't they have to wait till the end of the day before they can send in their or like pass them forward or however? Or are they able to do it between each session?
Each witness.
Okay. But you have to
Because
wait till the
Andrea
end.
described them, one of the jurors ripping, right as they said, juror questions.
Yeah.
She could hear the
She's like,
notebooks rip the pages off to hand
Yeah.
them to the judge.
I find that comforting. And I find it comforting that every time they ask a question, it's something the state should answer, not the defendant. Because a lot of people try to ask, well, they try to put more of the burden of providing answers on the defendant when it should be on the state. But the questions they're asking are things that Nick has been trying real hard not to answer, clarify, or be too specific because he doesn't want to be tied down to any one thing. And they're kind of making him pick a spot, say something, declare, like say something that can be confirmed or dismissed.
Yeah, the Simply Bell says the jury has been asking excellent questions, in my opinion. That's one
I
thing
think
that's
so.
given me a bit of a brighter outlook on things, is just hearing the jury questions, because it sounds like a lot of questions that we had whenever we,
Yeah.
started to look into things a little bit more detail. Like, those are pretty normal things to go, what? Wait, what?
Yeah. Did you see that Grave Hughes video though? He thinks they're dumb. It's
Yeah.
stupid,
What a
dumb
guy.
questions. Stupid,
What are you,
stupid
dumb?
defense attorneys. And he's just like
Who's the-
furiously clicking his mouse in the background. I don't even think he's like. I don't remember if I saw anything on screen. I just remember hearing the mouse click just furiously. Yeah. Okay, sorry. What are you pulling Kara up for? What's she say?
I had to Google who Gray Hughes is.
He's exhausting. He's so exhausting. He whines a lot. Like all the time. It's hard. I don't know how anybody can make it through any of those streams. It's nonstop.
Does he show his
Okay.
face?
Yeah. And his little visor cap. He always has on a visor cap. It's I don't know. I think he's older than Boomer, but it's Boomer territory. Looking like he just
Did
came
you
from
guys-
Florida all the time.
Did you guys see the? I'm gonna call her the coffin lady, coffin doffer.
Coffin Dapper.
Yeah. Yeah,
How
your annoying
her?
older sister is what she's like.
Wait, what?
She's like your annoying older sister that disagrees with you about everything. On
Oh
Twitter.
my. Well,
Yeah.
no, she kind of had a good point in a recent
clock,
tweet, and I was
twice a
like,
day.
I'm gonna like this just so she can get a little bit of dopamine for this.
Positive reinforcement.
Yeah, literally, that's
For sure. Yeah.
but it was basically like, this bullet evidence is dumb, and I was like, look, we agree.
Well, the FBI doesn't use that evidence because of William Tobin. So,
Yeah.
of course she does. She's like, I don't know. I think maybe the FBI is we wouldn't do that. Yeah, you wouldn't, because there's an expert out there that used to be the head of the crime lab that said this is junk science.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read this real quick. Is that okay?
That.
Sorry, I'm hyped up, dude. I don't mean to
for
be
it.
a straight white male.
DB, get
talking about
hyped.
two wonderful ladies. So
I'm fine with it. Like, read it, tell me, share,
So,
spill.
a lot of questions. This is Kara Weineke. She's the attorney who filed the original action that got Gall semi-clapped by the Indiana Supreme Court. A lot of questions and confusion about how the swabs could indicate possible semen but not find any. There are two tests that are done for semen. First, there's a presumptive test. This is pretty pointless. It's a crappy test that tells the analyst whether confirmatory analysis should be done. In practicality, every case I've had with semen testing, the initial presumptive test has found possible semen, only to find that indeed there is no semen. I believe the confirmatory testing is a more refined testing, or looking at a sample under the microscope. Either way, the presumptive is worthless in my opinion. And she's done a lot of appellate work, hundreds of cases, and a lot of them to do with a lack of DNA because of when appeals really get to her level, there's probably new DNA that don't point to the original suspect or the defendant. So I would imagine that she's seen this quite often, especially back then when there's a lot of presumptive testing. You know, some of these cases that she's working are 20, 30 years old. And I think, you know, cases in the 90s and 2000s are most likely to.
Would the only reason to do a pointless test be to rule something else out? That only that test, like, it's one of those things where, like, if yes, this way, if no, that way, and not just for the whether or not you should do the what did she call it? The confirmatory? Like, is there some
Yeah, confirmatory.
what's the point of the pointless test?
Just
'Cause
like,
that's the one
if
they
you're gonna do
did
it,
for the girls.
if you're gonna put like a little rock that you found on the floor of a poor person from the inner city's vehicle, and then like flick it, and it turns the liquid in it turns blue, and you go, look, that's cocaine or that's crack. You better tell me if you bought crack in the last 60 days. It's that. It's a it's a
Okay.
presumptive test that they use as a tool to try to scare people, so they could say in like just
So like I said, we have
like
experts
to do further testing.
saying it's you or it's that.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a
Probably.
field test, I don't think, but it's the same thing where like some of those presumptive tests that they do in the field for drugs are just almost nothing.
Yeah. Oh, it's moving too fast. Where'd it go?
Oh my God, look who's
Dang it.
here. I'm so excited to see her.
I'm in the middle. Do I need to scroll up or down?
Woman, wow.
Lovelies.
No, I was just kidding. I was talking about Ange, not woman.
Hey, Angie. Let's see. I keep getting auto scrolled out of my place in the chat. I'm trying so hard to stay
Hi, woman.
somewhat in order so I don't have to go back and forth. And then I cannot, for the fucking life of me, ever do it. I don't know how everybody else does. I like to blame the magic mouse. There was someone asking about it was more if FBI says this, does it open to that? I don't know where it went though. I think it was way up towards the top though. Okay, so let me see if they updated. I think it's Wish. Every time I've looked at their site, all the other ones have added their notes. No, it's not Wish. It's, well, one of them hasn't updated anything. It just still says court started at 9. We'll update when we receive notes, and that was it. I don't know where it went though. Oh my goodness. Oh, I have way too many of these open. So until they get out, all we know is there's no DNA linking Mr. Allen. I don't know what else could they find out on Cross about the hair with the bulb and whatever she meant by it was taken force. She used the word forceful. I don't know if it was forcefully, but she said by force and forceful, as in the way the tone she was saying it in was as in a struggle, not came from the sweatshirt or came from the car.
So I think it's because generally it's much more likely that hair that's found that's shed is broken at the stem, but when you have hair that has the bulb on it, it means that it wasn't brittle enough to be broken at the stem, meaning that it's still young enough that it would have a strong connection to the scalp. But if it was plucked out, the bulb would still be attached without it breaking. You know what I mean? So it just means that hair is more durable.
Around the finger.
Right.
Like it was durable enough to stay wrapped around the finger, survive the struggle in the stream, or wherever they crossed, either all the way back across the bridge and down the trail or across the creek, and catching their falls, climbing up stuff. I don't understand it. At some point, a hand will open, and if it's just loosely wrapped around, at some point, it's not going to... Am I just misunderstanding? It sounded like not tight where it's going to cut off the circulation, but it was like a tight fitting shirt or something. Like it was around securely in her finger as if it was gripped. I just saw Kat post something. Wrongful convictions for perjury by officials, false confessions, and mistaken witness IDs are not trending in Indiana. I'm gonna have to retweet it because it looks like I'm gonna have to click on it and read. I can't do that quickly. Okay, so and then the lab tech was, his DNA was contaminating the hoodie. Did it say the one that was on Abby, or does anybody remember that? Which hoodie it was, the one Abby was wearing or the one that was in the creek? I guess it would be the one on Abby because the one in the creek would have been degraded. Yeah. Let me see if anybody... It's taking me too long to switch between. Yeah, if it was on top of her hand, it would have just blown away. Absolutely. Has anybody gotten a chance to find out about the discovery and the protective order? So I know the media is allowed to view these exhibits, I guess, for 15 minutes after court ends. I still don't understand if that's daily or at the end of the week or at the end of trial. But I understand the rules if he's convicted or they go to appeals. But if there's an acquittal, the way she wrote the protective order, I don't understand
upon
it.
Conviction.
Is that what it said?
Yes. And for me, that meant that she's not going to release it if he's acquitted, which obviously in her mind's not going to happen. But because then he wasn't the person that did the crime, and there would be an ongoing investigation, so they could go right back to that bullshit to keep everything, under the wraps.
Yeah. But if the stuff that pertains solely to him, I also have this question with Logan Maxwell because he was ruled out. He was cleared. That search warrant should be public and should have been public a long time ago. But my understanding is that it's not. And if it has nothing to do with the case, how are they able to continue hiding it unless it is part of the case? Because it's part of discovery just for the defendant to defend himself. Those are the things that I get either twisted or confused about because I don't understand when it becomes discovery, like with the third-party suspect stuff. Is that why they're able to continue, like it's still protected until he's convicted or acquittal? I don't understand those rules. I think the gag order will be lifted regardless because the gag order is just about the extrajudicial statements from the coroner, the court personnel, law enforcement, even family somehow. That one is very broad order across like a broad variety of parties that is prohibiting from any extrajudicial statements. But when it comes to the protective order, I don't understand it. And it's because I know she says one thing, but sometimes she rules on things that she doesn't actually have authority to do. And I can't tell if that's what she's just putting in writing or if I'm just not understanding it. I guess I just want to know that all of this will be public at some point. I think if I just knew that, I would not be as concerned about it. But I have this sense of urgency that I need to figure it out before it ends, because what if it ends and then it's too late or something? Let me see.
That was a big sneeze.
Bless you.
Was that you, DP?
God bless you. No, it wasn't me.
It was neither me or the watch. Was it the kitty?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know.
I don't know.
It just said after trial, hang on before I lose it. She'll release them regardless, but after conviction, it will be after sentencing. She can't keep them sealed indefinitely.
Okay.
Why doesn't that comfort me though? Like, I know that part, but she's been able to keep some stuff confidential. And one of the other concerns I have, and I can't tell if this is unreasonable just because she's done some shady things, but how do we know what she took as her work product versus stuff she shouldn't have? She had to do that whole order in June of last year about all that stuff that the way she phrased it was filed is confidential improperly or something. Well, no shit, a lot of that should have been public the whole time. But how many other things has she been doing that with? Because even after that order and she corrected everything, they had to take her to Supreme Court because she was still doing it. And then, even after they took her to the Supreme Court, I think Kara's response said she had only cured 20% of the errors, and they dropped it anyway. They're like, okay, we cleared this very, very low bar, so all good, problem solved, and they just moved on. They obviously dealt with the other original action, but I think that is the source of my anxiety about whether or not this will be public. I'm curious to see Andrea's filing. I know she's getting started on her response to take it to the next step, and it's all about public access. So I'm very curious to see how that's going to go. But I also worry that Gull is going to take it personal and make some crazy ruling or something, or at least try. I don't think she'll be able to get away with it at this point. But I'm just always worried about what she's going to try, because they've tried so many things and gotten away with it, and there's nobody to call. Who do you call when even Andrea on Twitter said something to somebody? She's like, well, elections, that's really, I don't think she was saying it as in a get out the vote kind of way. I think she was saying it as in a, honestly, that's it. That is the only available remedy to the public, is just voting. But she ran unopposed last time. What if she runs opposed again? That's not really helpful.
It's not great.
I just feel like there's got to be some sort of agreement before the trial ends that she's either on the record or something, because I don't trust her to release
Sufficient
it.
agreement.
Something. Hate criminality. I just saw her go. Oh, I always auto scroll out. As soon as I try to click someone, it scrolls. And it either takes me all the way back to the top or all the way back to the bottom. I don't know what I'm pushing on this mouse that does it, but it's very, I haven't figured out how to make it stop. But I always lose my place. So I'm trying to write notes in places where it's not loud tapping on this keyboard, because all of the keys on this new one work, but they're loud. Does anybody know what time they get out tonight? Yeah.
It's supposed to be 6, but I haven't. Maybe I suppose it could be earlier, but I haven't heard anything otherwise.
Do they get a break in between around 3? Maybe not. Maybe for water, but not to go. They won't be able to do any updates.
Well, Bob is usually doing updates when he has a break, because he doesn't have to worry about the line or anything.
Oh, that's right, because he can just go. He doesn't have to hustle back.
Yep.
Oh, I just saw Hammy had to bounce.
Oh my God, Hammy.
Hammy, she might be in chat. She might have had to just hop off. Oh, hang on. Sorry. All right. So I thought today the first part was going to be, I guess, because I didn't realize they actually did do that much testing. I knew they spent the money, but I didn't know that. I was not convinced that they did test very much of anything, but I guess they did. I don't know if it's $20,000 worth, but I thought they would be, I guess, segueing into other medical stuff, but I have no idea. I thought they would be done by tomorrow or Wednesday, but what do you think? Thursday, Friday, for the state to get through all this?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's going to have to come down to whether or not they're going to call Cicero. I know I see criminality just mentioned him. I do think they did touch on a lot of the stuff that they were going to use Cicero for. It makes me wonder if Cicero was just a means to an end for a couple hearings. But
well, he said he was.
I feel like they already talked about. I feel like they already talked about some of the Cicero. Oh, Cicero was at the courthouse today. I'm not at the courthouse.
Really?
I didn't see him. Joe Schmo. Jessica, I thought that Cicero was brought on board, mostly third-party suspect. Yeah, I thought so too, Joe. Oh, maybe Yeah, I guess he's in town. Cicero. Yeah.
I'm at the courthouse. Were they maybe going to try to get to that this afternoon because of the DNA stuff? And it would probably segue better into that before anything else.
Yeah, and I wonder maybe if the offer of proof is coming soon then. And they may just use Cicero for the rebuttal to the offer of proof.
Say more.
But
what do you mean?
Well, like they're eventually going to make an offer of proof, right? To get this stuff in, get the third party stuff in. And the state is probably going to respond in court to the offer of proof. And depending on how
Okay,
extensive the
gotcha.
offer of proof can be, I think they would probably want to call Cicero because he was effective, allegedly
Yeah.
effective, at least for gold standard, on rebutting some of the stuff the defense was saying.
So, hang on, criminality, when are you going out there? Are you going the last 2 weeks? I cannot remember. I know it's towards the end. I just don't know if you're going for a week, for 2 weeks. So, oh wait, hang on. Are they able to do an offer of proof after 6 p.m. so the jury is away and it doesn't eat up their time? I don't know if you saw that one. I don't know. Do you know?
I don't know.
That would be efficient, and Go loves to do an efficiency at the expense of everything, except when she doesn't. What
Yep.
was the one thing that she was not letting Andrea, I forget what term she used, but after the state called a witness, instead of letting defense go ahead and get to that witness, Goal said no, and it apparently eats up a lot of time, and it's just a real, I want to say, fundamentalist interpretation of a rule or a statute, but I can't remember what term she used. But it was definitely not efficient, and it was very old school, the way she characterized it, I guess. You don't know if you're are you still trying to figure out flight arrangements? You don't know if you're going. She said it would be next week if you're going. Let me see. Hold on. Okay, I'm trying to see if there's anything else that I'm going to be mad that I didn't ask when I realize it later when I'm sitting in the pickup line. Let's see. I think it was Peggy. She said something, but I don't remember where it is. I meant to click on it and then I missed it. So, were you in here when we were talking about Gull scolding everybody for being sleepy in the courtroom? Did you hear that part?
I seen that on Twitter that she was very upset that people are nodding off.
She was very upset because she doesn't go to their bedroom to do, I don't know, to spin in her chair during court. So she's very upset that people are sleepy in her courtroom. It's not her courtroom. And she's turned the outside of that courthouse into like an encampment almost, because she has people out there all night just to be able to get in. And she still has the nerve to whine about it, about people being sleepy.
Well, it's
I
funny
go back
hearing
and forth. Is
Indiana's.
she not self-aware?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny to hear an Indiana state court judge talking about how they don't want to go in people's bedrooms or come into their bedroom because, as far as I'm concerned, the legislation coming out of Indiana kind of disagrees. But we won't have to go there.
Yes, but her personally, kind of like how I still get very confused about the Faulkner ruling about, well, Gull, yes, she in fact was lazy, but because defense kept filing shit, they lose their standing or something. That one blows me away because it should have been with the court, but she takes everything personally. She's even the special judge. So she's already supposed to be some sort of interim, interchangeable, because you should be able to swap judges out and it shouldn't have any effect on anything, which is not true. But ideally, I guess. She takes filings personally. Even when she responded to Andrea's motion, she had
Yep.
to get a dig in there. Like, lady, you're a judge.
You're
I
literally
appreciate
very
sass more than
powerful.
anybody, but, like, as a judge in the actual order, it's weird to me that she's comfortable doing that she's not embarrassed to do it. Like, when we do stuff like that to agitate or to, like, apply pressure to the state to, I don't know, solve this thing, maybe go find the guy, we do a cuss and we sass and we snark, but the judge the judge doing
Yeah,
it
what
is
are you doing?
weird, and then she gets all snooty about people not respecting the decorum. Did you see that those photographers got their shit back?
Oh, did they really? I didn't see that. Good
Mhm.
for them. I did ask
After
if they were gonna
all
do
the
anything about it.
after the evidence was deleted, of course, but I'm still curious. I'm waiting to hear back from one more of them because for a while, I guess I don't know if it's because of their station or because of whatever happened that they can't say much. What they can say, they released through, I don't remember if it was Journal and Courier. Yeah, it was Journal and Courier. They spoke up for 2 of them, but there's still 2 that are unaccounted for that, as far as I can tell, the NBC affiliate in the area would be Bob Siegel's channel. The way he covered it was like, "Who did like, new phone, who did this? I don't know, never met him."
Yep, never met
And
those
I thought
guys.
that was
Fuck 'em.
very strange, and
Did
they seem
you?
to be on their own. And did who what?
Did you
Oh, you're
think that
talking
was
about Bob.
strange? 'Cause I
Yeah, I
thought that
did
was right
because
on. I thought that was right on message for that guy.
well, I mean, for his yeah, it's not out of character, but it was strange
Oh,
for someone
to,
I
like,
would expect to
human.
have some yeah, like,
Yeah, that's
that
true.
was their pay the thing is these dudes are regular photographers. They were treated as if they were journalists or lawyers trying to come cover the case who are all sucked into this case and are trying to do an influence or something. They're just normal they have different assignments and different topics. Today, this week it's this case, another week it could be whatever's going on at a stadium. They're visual journalists, I guess is the official term, but they were just taking pictures. They put their at least 2 of them have officially confirmed that they put their cameras down, and at least one of them appears to have taken that time when they saw the jury van coming down the street. They all put their stuff down. He did pull one of his cameras out, but my understanding is he was uploading what he took right before all this that morning. He's like, "Well, what else am I gonna do?" He was just uploading stuff or sending stuff. I don't know how that works with their equipment or their I guess there's like a little suitcase looking thing to transmit it. I don't know if that's the right word either because I don't know anything about photography or photojournalism. And so I
I
don't
think you
know,
just had
but
a hotspot probably.
they got their stuff back, which is a weird thing to do if somebody didn't do anything wrong in the first place to have taken it. If they, the way she worded her order was still scolding them as if they still did something wrong, but she still gave them their stuff back. She does not strike me as someone who's very forgiving. She will straight remove you and not return your stuff. So I do think at least one of them, if not 2 of them, were able to have sent what they were taking pictures of. And I don't think whatever Carroll County dipshit pulled them aside and said, I personally observed footage on their cameras, and that's why I deleted it. And Gold just took that person's word for it. He's an unnamed somebody from one of the agencies providing security. And I'm convinced that he was looking at the images of the spectators that they got because there were no jurors, there were no vans. It was all people, but they got some of them out. And I guess maybe that was just the one saving grace they had because they at least had one thing to show. Maybe it had a timestamp. I don't know. I'm asking anybody and everybody I can pester into helping me contact this person or that person. But because she did rule the way she did in the wording of her orders, they seem to be scared for their reputation, for their career. That bothered me a lot because she put them on blast just because she was taking stuff personal, taking this one dude's word. And I think it might have been the courthouse Karen that tattled on him, the one that tried to tattle on Andrea, or no, on Allie.
Mm.
I don't
Yep.
know if she's the one. So I also think there's game of telephone going on because nobody wants to sign their name to these very credible allegations.
That's
But
a
they
good
have no
question.
problem just degrading the photographers who are not actually reporting. They're just the picture guys. This, yeah, I guess
State.
probably just to confirm the blood spatter stuff because they're saying all of the blood spatter on the tree is Libby's and the pooling at the bottom of the tree is Libby's. That is the only guess I have. I don't know if they will or if that's maybe a just in case plan they have, but other than that, I don't know why. And I don't
I
even know
think
if that would make sense.
I think they did it because they want to show that the issues could have resulted in them losing DNA. Like,
Oh,
I think that's super nefarious, but
yeah.
I wonder if they can maybe make it seem like they had some stuff, but like, just we had some good stuff, but it just ended up not really working out. And they're not
The
explicitly
fingernail
saying that it
stuff.
wasn't, they're not explicitly saying it wasn't Richard Allen's. Like, they're not excluding him. So it just makes it seem like, oh, okay, well, they're saying they did find stuff, and they're not
They're
saying
trying
they
to do
didn't
an
find
optics.
anything. Yeah, they're doing
Yeah.
an op.
And semantics and optics. Nick is real bad at them. I don't know why he keeps trying. I mean, I know they work on goal, but they have a jury this time. So he might still be enough of a doofus to try. I don't know. But that makes way more sense if they're trying to do a semantic. Cecil and Cicero. Yeah, Cecil's the phone guy. Cicero's the spatter guy.
Spatter perv.
Yeah.
I heard
He
72 hairs were recovered.
Yeah. That's what the report said, and I think only 3 of them, though, were actually useful, maybe. The other ones, they didn't want to degrade them, so maybe there was only 3 that they were not worried about, or only 3 were strong enough. I'm not sure. I know there were 72 total, and there was 3 hairs in particular from the 72. I just don't remember. I'm trying to look. I have got to put these in a doc so I can just search it better instead of trying to figure out which tab it came from and because some of these tabs I haven't refreshed it to the new one. I've got to get better about updating these throughout the day. And I always have to rearrange them because they just put them in kind of backwards. And then sometimes they put something, they don't quite get to the top to refresh it. So they'll put it in the middle. And then that confuses me. Oh my God, I just saw your picture.
Like
Lord.
Your Honor says
It's-
Betsy's a witness. Oh, you go ahead. What do you think about it?
I'm just
Just a
laughing. I
little
wasn't
goofball.
speaking.
I'm just a
No,
little
yeah.
goofball over here,
Dying over here. Let's see. I want to know if the hair fibers on the shoe came from which side of the creek did that come from? I assume it would be the one they were on, but was it? Would maybe there have been some from one side of the creek and then when they're crossing, it kind of got mashed in? Like there could have been more than one from a different side of the creek even. I don't know if they could even get to the bottom of that, but I wonder if they even
I don't
tried to
have
find
faith
out.
in them getting to the bottom of anything besides a fucking Ben and Jerry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? Okay.
Sass.
Unbecoming.
Yeah, very unbecoming. You did it unbecoming. There was
I did.
instead of an undoing, it was an unbecoming.
Oh my God, you're right.
So, where does it go? 72 hairs is a long way from 1. You don't get 72 hairs from a new sweatshirt. Yes, we did cover that at the very beginning to get to whatever Lana was. The last thing she talked about was whatever the hair in the hand was taken forcefully. And then the batch of 72 was not just loose hair, stray hair from sweatshirt gathered from all the different things. To me, that sounds like a clump of hair. Maybe not a massive clump of hair, but I don't know, like, it's at least
Yeah, I
enough
suppose it could
to
be.
make that'll get you a PCA at least. It's enough for something like that. It's enough that it should be tested, it should be looked at. But it's weird that they said 72. Like, did they really
Hey,
count
just
them?
rule it out. Just test it, and then if you decide that it's somebody's, look into it. It might be nothing. It's probably nothing. If it's the family, there's nothing that because they live with them.
Yeah, they need to clear them.
It's
They either need to
innocent
catch
transfer.
the family and friends or clear them. One or the two. You can't just leave that up in the air for
Right,
everybody's
and
sake.
for the family's sake. Like,
Yeah,
do the
especially theirs,
investigation on them.
especially if they're innocent. You need to clear them very clearly, unequivocally, so that they're not, but why they didn't. By the way, I remembered what I was going to ask you about earlier that I would have been mad at myself for not remembering. Can I ask it, even though it's off topic?
Yeah, go ahead.
Where is the report coming from about 4 guns were found in the creek or the river? Was that
So
related to the crime scene? Where did that come from?
that came from Oberg testifying what other guns she tested. So it's very weird because she said that they were sent to her in regards to this investigation. There was a Springfield, a Smith & Wesson, and another SIG, but there was some of them had water damage because they were pulled from a. Did
Oh.
she say
No,
explicitly a pulled from a? I don't know.
I thought that was with the testing. They do test fires underwater. There was something that she said they did where they put the
Oh,
gun
they shoot
in water.
into they shoot into
Yeah.
a water
Is
tank.
that what they're talking about?
I don't think so.
Okay. I have not been able to figure out. I heard 4 guns were found in the river that were seized when they were doing the crime scene. And then, damn it, what was the other? Oh, it was not. I forget who it was the other day that I think it was Snay. He said that Ron Logan had a SIG, but when I was going through the notes, Pat Brown testified that he had one. And I took a screen grab of it was Bob reading from Andrea's notes about it. And Pat Brown was the one that testified to having a SIG. So I don't know if that means it was Pat Brown and not Ron Logan, or if both of them did. Did everybody who came across this crime scene have one? It's kind of like when we first started hearing the word Odinist, everybody started coming out of the woodwork. Like even Brandon Woodhouse was like, oh yeah, my dad's an Odinist too. I'm an Odinist. My dad used to be a deputy at Carroll County. We're all
Yep.
Odinist. It was just all these people coming out of nowhere. And then Purdy getting on the stand, even at the 3-day hearings. It's like, oh yeah, well, we went to go interview one of the officers at IMPD because he's Odinist. I'm like, what? Really? All these people? That's how I'm starting to feel about the SIG, because there's a lot of people who have one. And I think I screen grabbed it at least because I was going to send it, and then I didn't because I was so worked up about the Holman stuff. And I thought, I'm just going to go get on there and cover this so that way at least it will pique enough people's interest to at least go to the documents and really get a better feel for the context of how we all got here. And then I didn't send it, but I will send it in a little bit. Listen, that hair was ripped out. Root didn't go through the wash. It would destroy it. My TED Talk. That was the nature of how Lana put it, basically. It was, she said forceful, or yeah, forceful, but still. Nick doesn't have a brain. He has pride, and he has the boss license plate affirmation. He goes every day. Yeah, and it was wrapped tightly around the finger. You don't get that from putting your hands in the pocket, and it just, I mean, I've been trying, in order to avoid thinking the worst, trying to think of, even if it's not likely, all of the possibilities, how it could get there, just to keep myself balanced before I have enough context or time to process it all. But like the closest I've been able to come up with is if she had her hands in her pockets and she was like nervous, fidgeting, and it just got wrapped around her finger and she didn't notice it because of adrenaline and she was scared. That's the closest I can get. But what I can't understand is how there was a hair with a root in there for her to get tangled up in, and how it stayed through the creek, or at some point they would have had to. I understand closing your fists when you're nervous or freaking out, but at some point you have to open your palms to reach for something, to catch your fall, to get your balance. They were climbing up a pretty steep area if they were going over the creek. And even if they were going the other way, they're going down a steep hill. At some point they would have had to have opened their palm. It makes no sense to me how it got there.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm looking at
So I think
Woman's comment.
normally what would happen is when you see a hair just at the scene or just anywhere, you're most likely, and it's just regularly discarded, it's most likely going to be broken off, like
Yeah,
in a at the surface level of the skin, even maybe a little bit below it. But what we're talking about here is this whole thing right here being ripped out, which doesn't happen naturally. Something has to catch onto the hair and actually pull the whole hair out. And this is what's tested down here, the bulb.
that's crazy. What was it doing wrapped around her finger? I don't like not knowing. I don't understand why they waited to test something like that. Like, were they scared to find out? Because has their hesitation with stuff been more about being fearful of finding out the actual answers? Because I don't know.
Well, I think it could be that where they vouched early on for having an idea of what something was going to be. So
They did that a lot.
They said the FBI, they came back to us and they said, they have a partial familial match on the hair and that we need to go get enough DNA from the family to be able to just run it all together and narrow down whose hair this is, even if it's innocent transfer, and be able to determine if, they need to follow up on this more or not. And then after, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, they still didn't run those tests or to get those results. They would probably be defensive if the FBI pushed back on them about it. And I could see the rift
Why wouldn't
starting
they
there
have just
because
done it though?
didn't wanna. Well, it could be that they just fucking forgot. It could be just that they had
That's
focused in
true.
on other people, and Jerry just says, "Oh yeah, well,
But who?
we'll
They
get
were
that
clearing
done."
everybody. One of the reports said the first time they got any DNA results back was in April, and the second round from the sticks was in July. But in March, if you go look at all of I should probably unprivate the playlist I made, because I went through all of the footage of the media reports and made a playlist by date so that you could just see all of the ones on this Denver media agency. And I did that when I was trying to go back, and like the first time I started trying to dig into this case, I was just trying to make sense of. I got tired of trying to rehunt down all these media clips. So I put them in order and then kind of did a little description of what they were talking about on this particular day, because they were all kind of pulling their notes with this too. But in March, they were re-evaluating all the tips. They were re-evaluating everybody they had interviewed. And they were also giving public statements, both Riley and Slocum, that their main goal at that point was to clear people so that they could narrow down towards the more likely suspects. But they did more clearing than narrowing down. And even by mid-March, they got to a point where, what was it called? Not restructuring. Oh my gosh, what's the word?
Deconfliction?
The normalization process. No, the normalization process. The ISP released something, and there were a few media reports about it, but they called it the normalization process, where all of the people, I think there was 20 agencies at least, who lent personnel to assist the investigation to help follow up leads, go interview people, follow up on stuff, and they had to start recalling them back home. They all sent all these people because they thought, we're going to get this done in a week. Well, after a week went by and it didn't happen, they're like, well, we'll stay another week. We'll keep doing this. We'll do this all week. And then another week went by, and then a month went by, and then another month went by. So they had to start recalling people, and they probably would have done it sooner or they might have done it different had they known it was not going to be solved quickly. But my point is, for a while, they had more personnel than they had tips. And I know they say they had 10,000 this or 10,000 that, but they had more officers than they did leads to follow up on. A lot of them could have just been evaluated by the people who were the ones in charge of assigning them back and forth. But I just don't know why they didn't just clear them. It would have been a benefit to the investigation, to law enforcement, to the families especially. But it's just weird to me, kind of like how they're pretending this tip got lost in the shuffle because things were just so crazy. It wasn't crazy yet. They hadn't even released the audio. It didn't start getting crazy and hectic, and to a point where they were all slammed from the time they showed up in the morning until the time they went home. That didn't start happening until like a week later. I just saw what time it is, by the way. I'm gonna have to bounce soon.
Okay.
Yeah, it is inexcusable. I just saw this comment. I don't know what time I'm going to be. I never know what time I will resurface after the pickup line and dinner and getting all the wild child settled. But I will be looking for updates. I don't know. I forget. I think Lana already scheduled her next live. I think Bob will probably be the one who gets out first to give a recap. But I'll probably see everybody at Andy's.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the gun thing, before I forget, though, that was because of the testing she did. Is that what you were thinking?
The pull? Or the water pull?
But that was from the testing, not from the river, like when they were talking about the water stuff? Or did they also, I think I'm trying to make sure before I file it in a certain place in my brain, did they recover any firearms from the river or the creek or anything like that? I didn't see anything. I saw some reports describing it that way, but then when I went back and saw her testimony, I thought, is this what they mean? Or did both of these things happen? I'm not clear on that. Like, I understand what she did with the testing, but was there also guns recovered from the river?
Yes.
Oh. Both of those things are true. Lord. Yes. Oh my God. Whose? Oh my God. I have 1,000 questions.
You gotta go.
Lord. Yeah, I do have to go. I'm gonna be trying to look this stuff up in the pickup line with stupid jammer.
Oh yeah, they got that.
I'm frustrated by the time I get back. God, that thing drives me crazy. It's very frustrating because if you get just too close, but then somebody pulls up behind you, you can't back up just far enough back either.
That's
I gotta find a better system for that. I gotta find a way better system. Hammy, thank you for coming up. Anytime you want to come up, we will all I'm speaking for everybody. Hammy's welcome on everybody's. I'm declaring it.
Yeah, I believe that too.
So, yeah, okay, bye, y'all, because I do have to go for real.
Okay,
Thank you also, always as usual. Thank you, bye. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.